Hey, welcome to the Week in Review. I'm Tony Alvarez, and this is the show that brings the top headlines of the week, but from an everyday person's point of view. Now, this is the Thanksgiving edition, so I hope you got your fill of turkey and gravy. I know that I got my fill of my mom's gravy, which should be jarred and sold all over the world. It's amazing. And this year, for the first time, we tried the Popeyes turkey, and that was a huge hit. So I highly recommend next year doing the Popeyes Thanksgiving turkey. It's really good. You should try it. So this week we're talking tariffs, and not only are we talking tariffs, we're talking about Trump's threat to use tariffs on China, Canada, and on Mexico. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mexico and Canada, it's a 25% tariff, and China, it's a 10% tariff. Now, Trump says he's using this to kind of curb what's happening at the border and the entry of fentanyl and other drugs. The PBD podcast had a good tee-off on this, so check them out.
President-elect Donald Trump announced plans to impose a 25% tariff on all goods from Mexico and Canada and an additional 10% tariff on Chinese imports, claiming the measures aim to curb illegal immigration and drug trafficking, particularly fentanyl. Trump declares the tariffs would remain until these issues are resolved, stating it is time for them to pay a very, very big price. Their tariffs could dramatically affect the economies of Canada, Mexico, and the U.S., with Canada's Deputy PM, Chrystia Freeland, emphasizing the mutually beneficial relationship between the nations. China's embassy in Washington warned no one will win a trade war, with Vice Commerce Minister Wang Shuwen stated the U.S. measures would ultimately raise consumer prices. Tom.
Now, some people would say that imposing tariffs is going to be a really bad thing for the economy. It's going to raise prices. But I kind of think of it a little bit different. I think that Trump is using these tariffs as a tool. And if he uses it as a tool, he'll get countries to kind of come to the table and start the negotiation process with him. Now, for me, I'm an actions speak louder than words guy. As a matter of fact, I'm a reactions speak louder than words guy. So here's where we landed with Mexico.
Great to see you as well. So we heard Robert say it there. You know, the president-elect talking now about that conversation on Truth Social. He wrote this, quote, "Mexico will stop people from going to our southern border effective immediately. This will go a long way towards stopping the illegal invasion of the USA."
And here's what Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had to say about it.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau weighed in on Tuesday. Here he is talking to reporters.
Good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. We talked about some of the challenges that we can work on together. It was a good call. This is something that we can do, laying out the facts, moving forward in constructive ways. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do.
So once again, I think this is one of those circumstances where we have to let Trump do his thing. We have to let him, you know, he wrote the book, Art of the Deal. I think he's going to go into a negotiation process. It's already working. Mexico has come to the table. Justin Trudeau has come to the table. China had a little bit of a different reaction. Here's what they had to say.
Chinese embassy spokesperson Lu Pengyu said, quote, "China believes that China-U.S. economic and trade cooperation is mutually beneficial in nature. No one will win a trade war or a tariff war." In his announcement, Trump accused Chinese authorities of failing to act against the inflow of fentanyl into the U.S. and said the tariffs would remain until this was stopped.
Now, if you ask me, and again, I come from a layman's point of view, normal, everyday person's point of view, I like this. I mean, it's my understanding that we allowed tariffs even in Europe to be charged, and from Germany since World War II, for the rebuilding of those countries to help their economy and to help them get back on their feet. It's crazy that those tariffs are still, to this day, being imposed on us at a greater rate. I think what Trump wants to do is kind of level the playing field, kind of even things out, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's actually what we should be doing. We should be having countries play fair trade with us. I mean, we can't allow for free trade with us and then our exports going out to those countries get tariffed. Those days have to come to an end. And I think Trump is using the threat of tariffs to really even the playing field. And I think that's what we should be doing. To switch gears back to the cabinet talk. I know that we've been talking the cabinet for the past couple weeks. Well, the reason we're bringing up the cabinets again today is because he's finally rounded everybody out. He's kind of wrapped it up with the cabinet picks. And the problem with these cabinet picks is now all of a sudden you're seeing all kinds of threats coming out of the woodwork. The rhetoric from all the mainstream media has started, all the, Russian agent, misogynist, racist, sexual abuse. And what does that do? That spawns the craziness out there in the ether, and these cabinet members and their families are getting death threats. Look at this.
From Fox for this breaking news, as several of President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet and administration picks have been targeted. I did want to pull up this X post from Caroline Leavitt. She is the spokesperson. I'm going to read it to you right now. It says, quote, last night and this morning, several of President Trump's cabinet nominees and administration appointees were targeted in violent, un-American threats to their lives and those who live with them. These attacks range from bomb threats to, quote, swatting. In response, law enforcement and other authorities acted quickly to ensure the safety of those who were targeted. President Trump and the entire transition team are grateful for their swift action. President Trump and the transition are focused on doing the work of uniting our nation by ensuring a safe and prosperous future. With President Trump as our example, dangerous acts of intimidation and violence will never deter us. Again, from Caroline Leavitt, she is the Trump-Vance transition spokesperson.
Mike Johnson offering a reaction to these threats against incoming Trump administration officials, saying on X, quote, this year there was not just one but two assassination attempts on President Trump. Now some of his cabinet nominees and their families are facing bomb threats. This is dangerous and unhinged. It is not who we are in America. He's calling on the president and Democratic leaders to have an obligation to speak up about these threats. What's your make of these threats, and how quickly do you think we'll get answers about who may be behind them?
Yeah, sure, Mike. And certainly, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, is that we don't tolerate that here in the United States. We don't tolerate political violence or threats of violence.
This kind of political warfare has to come to an end. I remember the Clinton era when he was the president of the United States, and that was the time where a Democrat can disagree with a Republican, but they can respectfully disagree. I remember that Clinton is not my cup of tea, but he did balance the budget, and he did work in great partnership with Newt Gingrich, who was the speaker, and that's the kind of politics we need to go back to now. I'm a realist. I don't know if we're ever going to go back to that style of politics, but that's where we should be. It's really sad to see that these cabinet members, they haven't even gone through confirmation yet, and they're already getting death threats, their family getting death threats, and it's just this whole talk that exists in our political discourse today is not the right temperature. It's not the way things should go. So hopefully we get back to a stage where we can disagree politically and it not be the big deal that it has been in the past, that we can move forward together and see this country progress. So once again, if you're up against it, it's just a short window of time. You'll get through it. And if you're doing well, ride that wave. I'm Tony Alvarez for Week in Review. Peace.